What's up, everybody? So this is a wall window unit. It goes up in that hole right there in my garage, and it's not doing very well. You can see we're not feeding very well. It takes 30 ounces of R22, and if you notice, these ones at the top aren't getting much refrigerant, and we have no way of knowing what it's doing. So we're gonna have to install these pigtails right here, these service pigtails, because we need to see what it's doing. So we're going to cut it out and lose the charge, but that's okay, because we're going to go in with 422D and 407A. We're going to see how they perform, and we're going to diagnose what's going on with the circuit, whether it's low or if it's restricted, see if we can fix it, and hopefully reinstall it. Now, I'd rather do that than to use piercing valves, because those leak. So I'm going to swedge these so that they fit right over, because these are also 1/4 inch, so they're the same size. That's one. And that's the second one. So you guys see it will fit right over the top of that, and the same with this one over here. You see it will fit right over the top of that. Gotta give it a little bit of finesse there, finesse. And so I decided I would spare you guys the footage of the soldering, the brazing with the torch. So we skip that and we go straight to the next phase. What would you guys think was the problem with this unit? Would you think that it was low on refrigerant, or would you think that these would have became restricted? Now, it's 2 cap tubes that leave this little 6-inch liquid line. They go and make a small loop, 1 loop each, and it's at this point that they get really nasty looking. Then they go right into the evaporator. So what do you suppose it is? Low refrigerant charge, restriction in the cap tubes, or both? Alright, so I got my jug of 422D. I don't have a scale small enough for the ounces like that for 30 ounces, so we're just going to kind of wing it off of superheat. Alright, we're going to start with adding a little bit of liquid into the liquid line. Notice how long it's taking the suction side to come up. It's not very noticeable, but it seems to me like the suction side is taking too long to come up. I would go far enough to say, even before making this video, looking at that the low side is responding too slowly to liquid going into the high side. .422D. Alright, so now we got a little bit of pressure. We're going to turn it on and see what it stabilizes at. We're going to need to add vapor refrigerant, or we're going to add to the suction line now. I know it's real hard to see, guys, but right here before I turn it back on, it starts pulling my suction into vacuum. But I opened the valve right at the wrong time, or it would have kept going into vacuum. You can't really hardly see the numbers on here, so I'm gonna fast forward until I clear the screen. So here we can find our evidence that the circuit is restricted, just with the pressures. But if you're unsure, what you look for is high superheat and high subcool. In this case, it doesn't have enough refrigerant to give me a high enough subcool, but you can see the superheat's real high. So I added a little bit more and I let it stabilize, and we've got high subcool now. We're frosting at the inlet. Mainly we're frosting because our suction side is below 32 degrees for the saturation temperature. But unfortunately, we can't get that saturation temperature above 32 and running normally without blowing the head pressure way up out the roof, way too high, to where we could cause compressor failure. Now this garage is about 85 degrees right now. And the same temperature air that's going in the condenser is also going in the evaporator. So if nothing else, our saturation pressures should be closer to each other, much more so than what they are now. So if we add a little bit more, we can get the ice and the frost to disappear and stop forming on the evaporator right there. See? But this is not sustainable. This is too high of a head pressure. So the next morning, I decided to start it up fresh. It was 5:30 in the morning. And if you keep an eye out, you'll see that as they stabilize, both pressures start going up. Even the suction pressure starts going up. But the liquid side pressure is going up. And here is a perfect view of your high superheat and high subcool. 48 degree superheat, 30 degree subcool, with the subcool building and the liquid stacking. So then about 10 minutes later, it kind of stabilized. The liquid at least stopped going up, but you got to keep in mind that this liquid's going to go real high when we put it in place in the wall, and it's pulling in hot outdoor 100 degree temperature, and it'll overwork that compressor. But just with looking at the subcool and superheat, you know that it's got to be fixed. And then also, back when I was running R22, it was pulling 7.5 amps. To replace the cap tube and to size it properly, I need to split my BTUs into two, because I have two feeds. So 18,000 divided by 2 equals 9,000 BTUs per feed. Then I'm gonna take that 9,000, looking at this chart, and it's gonna tell me right here that I need a 0.075 at 72 inches. So I need to use this chart and find the recommended size, and then I can also go down to this size that's over here. Unfortunately, it's shaded and it's not recommended. But I multiply this factor times the recommended length, which is going to give me nearly 35 inches of a cap tube that's sized 0.064, which is the BC4, matches that. And so here's what I came up with. I've got those cap tubes installed with the dryer, but my pressures still are not where I would like them to be. So my subcool has gone down some, but I would like for more refrigerant to be feeding, so I might take a few more inches out. But I need to get back to my day job, and I'm going to install this back in my garage because my garage is hot. And if I take it apart again and start experimenting some more, I'll let y'all know, and I'll try to make a video. So like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. See you later.